finally, it is a warm and beautiful day here on the Isle of Man. And for the past week or so, it's been wet and windy and horrible, and I've been pretty much stuck inside, which is why I've spent a little bit more time thinking about what I want to plant for next year. So if you didn't catch last week's video, I actually am doing a little bit of a survey. I'm asking you what you think I should grow this year in the garden. And I'm giving 2 choices for 7 different categories. Go over and check out that video. I also introduced my autumn planting onions, shallots, and garlic, and that's kind of what I'm focusing on today, because being that it's such great weather, I need to get these guys in. Now, it took ages for these to arrive, but they're here now, and autumn planting onions and other alliums, they have a little bit of a head start to ones that you would plant earlier in the year, so in early spring. And it's in my experience that it's better to go with the ones that you can plant in the autumn, because what happens is that you put them in now, they send up little shoots, they overwinter really, really well, and then when it starts warming up, so next March, we get warm days like this, they'll start shooting up, and they'll be far ahead of anything that you plant next year. So I have, what is this, 6 different things to plant today. So first of all, these are my onion electrics, so they're obviously a red onion. I also have Autumn Champion, which is a yellow onion as well. I have 2 types of garlic. This one is Edenrose, and this one is, what is it called again? Printanour. So I've never grown these types of garlic before, and in fact, you'll know that last year I accidentally ordered garlic from China, which grew very well, and I hummed and hawed about whether or not I should just go ahead and plant those again, but I really want to have a really good British variety, a local variety, so I can save these from year to year from here on out and plant them again. I also have 2 different types of shallots, and this one is a Longor, I think, Longor, probably mispronouncing that. These ones are really lovely, kind of long shallots. And then these ones, these are a little bit more shriveled up, so I'm going to have to go through this a little bit more closely. There are some plump ones in there though. This one is a variety called Griselle. So I've got loads to plant out today, and they're all going in the new plot, which I didn't really have a great deal of time for this year because I moved house and all of that. But what I did do is I put landscaping fabric down one side, mulched it, and then planted pumpkins through the mulch. I mulched it with wood chips, so that really held the fabric down, didn't really come into contact with the roots of the plants, and now it's pretty old, so it's pretty safe to say that it's not going to cause any nitrogen issues or anything like that being underneath another layer of mulch. So the hope is that I'm going to lift that landscaping fabric up today. The ground underneath will be cleared. I can plant these guys into it and mulch it with our latest delivery of horse manure. Was quite a workout. It took me about an hour to pull the landscaping fabric up, to dig up any perennial weeds, so like the dock, some nettles, other things that I found growing. When you put down a fabric or plastic mulch, most everything dies under it after a while, except for the really tough perennial weeds like this dock. But pulling that up now, I can see everything that's left over, some nettles there, and I can manually dig these guys up. Some of them have gotten through, so the ones that have green leaves actually got through the fabric, but these, for example, these white ones, they were underneath and still surviving. I actually saved a lot of time doing it this way, so putting the landscaping fabric down. Digging this bed in a traditional way, so digging over each clump and removing the weeds, it would have taken me half a day maybe to do. So this has really saved me a lot of time. I got that smallish harvest of pumpkins and squash as well to count for it. So now it's time to plant the garlic and the shallots and the onions. And what I'm going to be doing is putting them all throughout this bed about 6 inches apart. This is a rare sight. We have the New Zealand flatworm at the site, so very few worms. But I feel that the population is rebounding, and I don't know if it's because we had such a long, hot summer. The New Zealand flatworm doesn't like really dry soil, or if it's because I've started using no-dig gardening. Maybe it's a combination of both. I'm planting these Longor shallots first. If you look really closely, you can see them all popping up out of the ground now. And I got 3 rows of shallots in there and then an extra couple to make the 4th row. So I'm not making traditional rows that I hoe in between in this bed. I'm going to be planting it as just a solid block. And then I'll probably put a couple of rows in between different sections just so that I can get in a little bit easier. So just after the shallots, I'm going to be putting in one of the garlics. So this is the Printanour. So this is going to join that row of shallots, and then I'm going to plant all of this in, and it'll be quite a few rows, I'd say. I'm just going to show how to break this apart. The papery outside bits you can just peel off. I tend to just leave them. And then as you come across the first clove, gently pull it off. So this is what you would plant in the ground, and you're looking for cloves that are quite big and chunky. If they're too small, narrow, or if they're squishy, so not firm, then you discard those. There's no point in growing those. So you see with this one, it's a bit shriveled. So it's squishy, it's flat. It either won't grow it at all, or it'll be a very weak plant. So we're just gonna get rid of that. I'm not using anything fancy to kind of lay out the rows just now. So you can see I've got 2 stones, and I keep moving one 6 inches over on the other. And then in a row, then I will dig little holes and put the garlic cloves inside. So there are 6, and I'll just cover these up and move on to the next row. And you can see that they're in there quite deeply. So this one, for example, remember again, pointy end up. It's going to be completely covered with soil when I cover it up. I left the little bits of the shallots above, more because they are a bigger clove and they will reach down for their roots a bit further anyway because of their length. But having the garlic planted quite deeply will help them in my exposed garden. And when it comes time to harvest the garlic, I will have to pry them up with a fork most likely, because they will be firmly embedded in that soil. After planting the shallots and the garlic at the top, I've left a little bit of space in between and then have dug little holes for all of the onion sets, and I've staggered them, 2 of the red, then 2 of the yellow, all the way down. Nearly finished. So I have 1 of the garlic types in, 1 of the shallot types in, and both types of onion. And I've just planted them direct into the soil slash mulch here, and I've decided against putting the manure mulch on them just yet because the manure that we have right now, it is quite fresh and I don't want it to scorch any green leaves coming up there. So I'm just going to leave it for the time being, let it age a little bit, and then carefully put it on top here when the green leaves of all these sets have started to spring up. So I think I'll come back here another day and finish the planting at the very end. But I'm pretty happy with the work that I've done so far today. So this is going to be a great bed in the next summer, so it'll be all lifted around the same time, and then I can put in another crop directly afterwards. And as I wanted at the allotment, I'm going to just have kind of long growing, slightly lower maintenance crops up here, and then at the home garden I'll have a lot more of my leafy greens and more of my tender veg that needs a little bit more looking after. I hope you enjoyed this allotment garden video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and do check out my playlist for all the other allotment videos. I've got loads now. So I've got, what was it, last month, so an October allotment garden tour that you might find interesting as well. In any case, thanks so much, and I will see you next week here on the Lovely Greens YouTube channel. Bye for now.